Good. What day is today? Wednesday. Good Wednesday.
Wednesday, of
Well,
course.
how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Of course, it's Wednesday morning. It's early day, early start for me, but well worth it. I get to sit in my desk all day long now.
Well, you don't sit at the desk. No, you're going to be out in the city. What are you talking
out,
about? You're not going
out
to
and
be.
about.
You're going to be out and about in a couple minutes after we're done with this podcast. I mean, that's it. That's what you do, which is great. You go out there and
Hmm.
explore. It's a beautiful day. Going to be a little bit of a heater. There's no question about it. And we're coming off a night in which both the locals looked really, really good. And obviously, we kick off the program with the really decisive, get healthy type of victory from the New York Mets last night against the Atlanta Braves, and they hit 6 home runs. They scored 13 runs. Let's start with Alonso. Obviously, it's not an overwhelming number when you think about it. I mean, 254 career home runs as a Met. It's not like, we're not talking about a Ruthian achievement,
Right.
but it's still a great achievement nonetheless to go out there and be the career home run leader for the New York Mets, to pass Darryl Strawberry after what we went through throughout the entire offseason when it comes down to the contract for Pete Alonso, and signs basically a short-term 1-year deal, opt out after this year. He's had a really good offensive season when you're looking at the Polar Bear, and he got all the accolades last night. Steve Cohen in attendance, giving a standing ovation. I think that was at his father-in-law, I believe, that was sitting right next to him, as
Yeah.
well, in terms of Cohen. And so the Met fan, and great call from Gary Cohen on SNY. He's on an iceberg all by himself, playing into his nickname in terms of the Polar Bear, and you feel good for Alonso.
Yeah, no doubt. This is something that was definitely earmarked for Met fans, that it would happen this year at some point. As long as Pete Alonso had a uniform on, you knew he was going to have a shot at this, and he did it in 160 less games than Darryl Strawberry. He's been a prolific home run hitter since day one, and really never slowed down. Just imagine if the COVID year had been a full season, he could have done this a lot sooner. We always thought, with the way that he came into the New York Mets with a rookie record, 53 home runs, breaking Aaron Judge's record the year right after. Judge set the record. This guy was going to be special, and he has not disappointed. He's able to hit 40 home runs or close to it every single year, 100 RBI type guy. Batting average is something that they've always wanted a little bit more out of, but there's a give and take. And when he talked about signing back with the Mets, one of the reasons that he tried to downplay it as if it wasn't really on his mind. Of course, there was money first on the mind to get him to sign back, but it was also to have a shot at breaking the home run record and being number one. And not only that, then he breaks his own record in the same game by hitting the next home run. So good to see Pete swing a big bat again, and it's something that the Mets definitely need right now.
Yeah, they needed Alonso, and he has his moment. And more importantly, the Mets win a game. I mean, so it's not
Yes.
like the home run comes into a game in which the Mets lose, get dominated by Strider, and Alonso hits a couple of home runs that end up proving not to be a difference, right? So
Hmm.
Mets needed to get healthy. They need a big time W. They need to kind of right the ship. They were 1-11 previous 12 games. Coupled with the news that Montas, thank God, is out of the Mets starting rotation. So maybe we're going to get one of these young guys. Maybe it's Sproat, maybe it's McLean. Saturday, that turned through the Mets starting rotation. We'll see exactly. And Carlos Mendoza yesterday said both of those individuals, both of those young men are part of the conversation right now. You've talked about it. We've talked about why not. I mean, why wouldn't you go down that route? And they've admitted a mistake with Montas. He's been terrible this year. Can't go out there and continue to compound the problem and hope that it's going to turn around in the very next start or do an opener as they did in Milwaukee. That didn't work.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be, as good as the pitching lab has been at times, I mean, it has not worked with Frankie Montas.
Yeah, we have a lot of kudos right around June, towards mid-June for the pitching lab. At the time, the Mets had the best ERA in all of baseball, both starters, relievers, clicking on all cylinders, and they didn't even have their number one and number two starters yet. Number one, number two, and technically, maybe even number three with Montas. That was what was thought to be the formula. A lot on Peterson's shoulders. He's done a fantastic job. Talked about quality starts, which is 6 innings, 6 innings, 3 runs or less. Peterson has 16 of those. The Mets have 30 as a team. So They need more length and more depth out of their starting rotation, and Montas has not given them that. And then the biggest thing was when they tried to do an opener to give him a soft landing spot, which was the middle of the Brewers lineup for some reason, and during a what were they 8 game winning streak at the time. Yeah, that sounds like a real soft landing spot to give the guy to start out his game. Let's face the 4, 5, and 6 hitters. And that didn't work out. And what did it do? It really wore out your bullpen. And kind of a mistake move in my opinion. And I think at that point it was the writings on the wall. And as of 15 minutes ago, they've already made the call. McLean is coming up to
Oh, missed
pitch
that.
on
There you
Saturday.
go.
Yep. Yep,
Very
he's
nice.
pitching on Saturday. Montas is in the bullpen, like we said. Blackburn is also up for a bullpen role. They're trying to figure out how to make room for Blackburn as well. I just think they're going to see what they get out of McLean on Saturday, and then be able to go from there. But
Yeah,
definitely
it's the right call.
Montas is Montas. You have to be able to say when you're right, you're right. When you're wrong, you're wrong. This was a bad move.
Yeah, bad move with Montas and McLean. I missed that. That's a good call. But in terms of him getting the opportunity on Saturday, he's dominated down the minor leagues. And you mentioned Milwaukee. How about what Milwaukee did last night to Paul Skeens of the Pittsburgh Pirates? Pirates aren't any good. Skeens is brilliant.
Yeah,
He was pitching to an under 2 ERA, and he gave up 4 runs, 6 hits, 4 innings of work. They went out there and drubbed the Pirates 14-0. I mean, they are right now 31 games over the 500 mark, and they look like an absolute locomotive. Now the thing is are they peaking a little bit too soon? We got ways to go before the end of this MLB regular season, middle part of the month of August, Figgy. So we've got a ways to go, but Milwaukee, give them a lot of credit. I don't care that they don't have any guys in the top 50 in Major League Baseball. It doesn't
yep,
matter. I mean, all they do is go out there and produce. Do you realize that 34% of the guys that get on base for Milwaukee score? Think about that
yeah.
for a second. I mean, that is a remarkable. So 34% of the time, if you get on first base, you're coming home to score this season for the Milwaukee Brewers. It's really a testament. They might not have the most talented team, but right now they're the best, without a shadow of a doubt. They're the best team in Major League Baseball. Does that get anything for you in August? No. You want to be the best team at the end of October. We'll see if that ends up being the case for the Brewers, but give that organization a ton of credit.
This isn't anything new. I think what we've done is we've always had that old school mentality that the Central belonged to the St. Louis Cardinals, right? The Central, the Chicago Cubs were a team that was always on the cusp, on the rise, making moves, being able to go out and try to spend big money for big names. And the Milwaukee Brewers are still one of the small market teams who, when you look at it, they've been one of the most successful teams in baseball over the past 5 seasons. They're consistently competing no matter who's in the lineup. Their superstar, Christian Yelich, he's having a resurgent year finally, 23 home runs, 78 RBIs. Other than that, there's nobody else with 20 home runs. There's nobody else with a marquee name that you look at in that lineup. All they do is they find a way to get them over, get them in. It's old school baseball. Pat Murphy is the manager, coming off a manager of the year last year. Looks to have found another winning formula. Literally had a meeting with the team and said, this isn't how we're going to play baseball. And we've talked about this before, right? The manager setting the tone for the team. It's not about culture. We hear that too many times with a cliche thrown around it. Yeah, it's about the culture. It's about the identity. Pat Murphy said, this isn't how I want my team to play. And he challenged them to play my style of baseball. And it could be winning baseball if we execute and do the things the right way. And look at what they've turned into. They've turned into a juggernaut. Just think, if you go back before this winning streak, even in the beginning or right before the All-Star break, right around the All-Star break, you're talking about the Chicago Cubs running away with it, absolutely demolishing people. Their run differential, plus 100 on their run differential. They seem like a team destined to take on the Dodgers and Mets and put themselves in position for contention. They are 7.5 games out right now because of what Milwaukee has done as of recently. And if you've watched them, and we got a firsthand view of what they're about, they have no panic to them. There's no rhyme or reason for matchups. We saw he put in somebody to pinch hit the other day. They were down 5 runs. He put somebody to pinch hit to get it started, and they were batting a $139 on the season. And the
Crazy.
guy gets a hit, and then
Yeah.
another guy gets a hit. Then next thing you know, it's a 5-3 game. Then it's a 5-4 game. Then all of a sudden they're winning on a walk off. So he's pulling all the right cards right now and being able to do things much differently than most teams. Because as we said, you sit back and you're like, oh, it's a top four in the lineup that are going to get the job done. It's not that way with Milwaukee.
No, it's not. Back to the Mets here, and they're 31 games over 500, remarkable. And listen, I think the Mets are going to be a playoff team, and obviously outside of the Alonso, surpassing Strawberry for the franchise home run mark. The big news, obviously, it coming down about 20 minutes ago, as you mentioned, Figgy, Nolan McLean, who is going to get the start on Saturday. And one of the Mets' best prospects, top three prospect behind Benj, and obviously Jet Williams, Tong is another guy that's up there. Brandon
Mm-hmm.
Road. The Mets are teaming with young talent down on the farm system. But when you look at McLean, all 6'4", all I think 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" of them,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it might be.
Yep.
8-5 at Syracuse, 2.45 ERA, or overall this year in the minor leagues, 8-5, 2.45 ERA. Opponents are hitting under 200 against them, 113 innings of work, 127 strikeouts. From what you understand, what should Met fans expect Saturday from McLean?
Well, this is a guy who did very well also in spring training, showing in a mid 90s fastball. He's been able to use his sweeper. He has an elite sweeper that has a lot of movement to it, and he's able to shape it in different ways. A lot of times you see these sweepers, and they kind of only move in one direction or one pattern. He's able to move it around. He can touch 97 at time. He's got a four seamer in the top of the zone, so he can pitch to kind of the weaknesses of hitters, or at least in every count, kind of shift the balance of power into him being able to execute and have a positive result. And we're not looking for this guy to come up here and strike out the way he's striking out minor guys in the minor leagues. He's at a rate of 10.1 Ks per nine inning. But he has gone out there, and when you have success, what they usually wait to see is how you do once you fail. How you do once you go one time through the league and you get seen again by the same teams. That's why a lot of times they don't just bump you up and make you go to the big leagues because you're having a good month or so. They want to see what happens when you hit a roadblock, when you hit a speed bump. And he had done that for a little while. And then his last, 15 starts, he's pitching to barely a 2 ERA and continues to look like a guy who has it figured out. And that's who you want. You want someone who's not going to be overwhelmed. You want someone who knows exactly how to pitch. Everything is the same. It's 60 feet 6 inches. That's all you're worrying about. Right? You don't have to worry about anything else out there. The hitters, you have a lot of information on them. You're relying a lot on the catcher to help you with making the right calls and right sequences with the pitch com. So for him, it's just going out there and executing like he's done time and time again this season. I don't think I see him going out there and being overwhelmed and the moment being too big when he pitches on Saturday.
And deserves the opportunity based on what he has done and how he's progressed and how he's developed down in the minor leagues. We'll come back. We'll talk a little Yankee baseball. Big night out in Queens. It was a good night in the Bronx against a team that the Yankees obviously utterly own. So
Oh,
there's no celebrations going on this Wednesday. They just did what you expect them to do. I think we're going to tip a cap to a specific Yankee player. We'll get the Figgie's thoughts on that. We'll do that next. It's Figgie and the Moose on this Wednesday right here on Pix 11 Plus. All right, welcome back. It's Figgie and the Moose, Marc, Malusis, Nelson, Figueroa on this Wednesday right here on Pix 11 Plus. And, Figgie, the Yankees have their way last night with the Minnesota Twins once again. Anthony Volpe, who cares about his defense if he's going to go out there and continue to hit the ball over the fence, which he is going out there and doing. And,
mm-hmm.
I think, a guy that deserves a little bit of love, that's gotten a lot of grief, that got booed a lot, that people complained about the contract and people, complained about, that he's not the player that he once is Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, Stan deserves a lot of love for, number one, how he handled all the booing initially when he came here. There was no Javi Baez thumbs down. There was no going out there and attacking the fans on social media. He goes out there. He's, a quiet guy that carries a big stick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he does it on a night in, night out basis. And I'll be honest with you, he's a clutch player. And that's one thing I'll take away from Giancarlo Stanton. He has come off the IL. He's come off the IL hitting home runs. He's gone out there and played a little outfield because Judge can't go out there and play the outfield. Hasn't embarrassed himself out there. I'm not going to get on the fact that he doesn't sprint down the first baseline when he gets a hold of it. I mean, that home run he hit last night, 447-foot blast against a Twins team that stinks. I'm not saying that, but there's no prettier home run than when Stanton gets a hold of it in Major League Baseball. There really isn't. I mean, it's like McGuire, it's like Bonds, like Griffey. Like when they get a hold of it, it's just jaw-dropping brilliance.
It's one of those things. I mean, I even have to go to a different sport to where you get a chance to hit a ball. It's almost as if the ball's on a tee, and like Tiger Woods in his prime, the way he hit his drives, and you just sat back at the sound that it makes. Right? It was just different. You could just tell who was up at the plate when it comes to stand. You could tell when Tiger Woods was on the tee box when he would let it go, then the ball would hit off the club head, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's just different. Stanton has always been so impressive with a short stroke that when it comes to plate discipline, that was always this question with him, right? Chasing sliders in the other batter's box, elevated fastballs, thinking he could get to them. But when he harnesses his ability to focus on just a square of about 20 baseballs wide, he's dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Because if you enter that zone, you're not leaving. The ball's leaving. It's just that simple. He hits the
Yeah.
ball so hard, and I think that's what happens in clutch moments. He bears down and he makes it a really single solitary thing on every single pitch. Is it in my zone? Is it not in my zone? Can I get the barrel to it? It's not coming off the end of the bat when he hits those balls. You know what I mean? Like those balls are hit, and I love to see like just the reactions of the players that aren't involved where the ball in the direction of the ball. Like the left fielder when he's out going out to right center, the left fielder's just going like, oh my God, like it's split second, it's gone, and it hits something so hard, you're hoping it doesn't hit a person. Um, but it's been utterly impressive to see everything that he's been through, dealing with the double elbow tendonitis, dealing with, the lack of mobility. He tried to change everything last year, lost some weight and looked like he was more flexible, but it didn't work out. He still got injured, came back in the playoffs and was really carried the team to get to the World Series. And now you look at him now, and there's a million reasons why, you're like, oh, well, let's just forget about him. He wasn't helping us when we were in first place. Ben Rice was doing everything. Let's kind of move on and try to phase out Giancarlo Stanton. And then he took a couple of swings in the box, and you're like, maybe not. Let's find a way to get this guy's bat in the lineup as much as we can. And even having him play out there in right field, we've had this argument with in our heads with Yankee brass of how bad could it be, right? How bad could it be to have him out in the outfield? And if that means moving, at the time, if Judge had to play left or right, whatever it may be, it's a short porch. If the ball is over his head and he's against the wall, then it's gone. So have him play against the wall and keep everything in front of him. As long as he doesn't have a chance to hurt himself, then he should be adequate. And he has been that and then some, especially with the stick.
Yeah, especially with that, and now you get Joe Ryan on the mound tonight for Minnesota, Cam Schlittler on the mound for the New York Yankees as they continue, and they've got a 1-game lead on the Cleveland Guardians for that third and final wild card spot in the American League. The Mets are 2 games up on the Reds for that third and final wild card spot in the National League. So 2 dogfights amongst the 2 teams. I mean, I don't really. Other than Stanton and doing what you're expected to do, I mean, do you give Volpe a little bit of credit, the mindset offensively, kind of the uptick that we've seen here from Anthony Volpe, given the criticism that has been, I mean, justified because of his lack of defense at shortstop? I guess you're going to look at that route. You look at Will Warren was good in game 1. Carlos Rodon was good last night. The Yankees are going to go out there and need that. You still got concerns when you look at Devin Williams. I mean, it's a Yankee team that you still expect, even with some of the flaws of this group, to make it to the postseason, just like you expect the Mets, even with some of the flaws of that group, to make it to the postseason.
Yeah, you figure they got to find a way to snap out of it, and once they snap out of it, they get back to the normal scheduled program, right? These teams are too talented, too good, and played a brand of winning baseball for too long in the season to all of a sudden forget how to do that. Is it embarrassing at times? Absolutely. Is it just infuriating at times? Absolutely. But at the same time, that if this team can find a way to limit the mistakes, limit the stupidity, as you love to say about the stupid baseball that we're watching, right? If they can limit that in any way, shape, and a form, and then you're going to see a different brand of Yankee baseball, because once they get that swagger, and we've seen ebbs and flows in baseball this season that I don't remember in the recent memory, so many ebbs and flows of teams winning 7 to 8 plus games and then losing 7 to 8 plus games constantly. A team that's in first place can drop out of first place very quickly. And we've seen that happen with the Mets and Yankees because the other teams have gotten hot. Now, who can, you would love this. This is like horse racing for you, right? Coming out of
Yeah.
the gate strong. And then all of a sudden, what kind of horse are you? Are you a finisher, or are
Yeah.
you someone who needs to right. What kind of horse are you? Are you getting out of the gate too strong? And
Right.
we've seen that happen time and time again. We used to talk about the Red Sox all the time. Red Sox was so good in April, May, and June, and then all of a sudden, the Yankees would just go
Yeah,
right
I'm
past them.
reminiscent of like the Clydesdale. That's what I'm
That's
that's
what
what
we're hoping for, right?
I'm
So I think what you're looking for is that these are supposed to be two teams that set a standard, and we
Yeah.
saw them do that for 3 months of baseball. I don't think it's so far gone that they can do it again. I think once they cut some fat around the edges and figure out exactly what they need to do and the people that they need to get the job done, I think you're going to see a much better brand of New York baseball.
We'll see. The Mets continuing their series tonight against the Atlanta Braves. They're home. It's David Peterson on the mound for the Mets and Cookie Carrasco. So it should be another win day for the New York Mets. They should be able to score some runs tonight. If they don't score runs on Cookie, nice guy. But I mean,
Spencer Strider, yes. Cookie, no.
yeah, Strider was terrible. I mean, it's almost like Strider was like, the season's over. I don't know. It's weird. He was like trying to get it was some of the pitches he threw. The pitch that he hung to Nimmo on the
Yeah,
3-run home run. I think there was a 1-2 pitch as well when the game was
yeah.
tied at 5, and he hung it right over the plate, and
Hmm.
Nimmo deposited what good hitters go out there and do. I was disappointed, even though he got roughed up in Milwaukee the previous start, especially with the way that the Braves rallied from 5-1 down to tie that game up at 5. Stunned about how bad Strider was last night, but he was terrible. Mets were great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he was terrible, and it was good to see the Mets not only once they lost that lead find a way to get it back. Right, Gregory Soto coming in so early in the game, Clay Holmes trying to be a starter. Speaking of horses, get out of the gate, and where are they at now? He's starting to show wear and tear and not looking like the same pitcher. He doesn't have the same swing and miss stuff that he had early on in the season. Might be time to maybe shift him into the bullpen as well, just to let him catch his breath. These are all things that, yeah, the pitcher doesn't want to do it. He wants to, the ego and everything that he's put into this. And the reason why the Mets came out of the gate so strong was because of a guy like Clay Holmes, right?
Yeah.
So there's an ego involved in there, and it'll be interesting to see when the recommendation is, hey, we need you at your best, when we need it the most, which is down that run in September. Right now, I don't need to see Clay
Yeah,
Holmes
you don't need
battling 80 pitches for 3 innings.
no.
I mean,
No, you like
it's
to see
not
him
a
throw
good.
some more strikes. So you
Oh,
like to see.
it's not a good look. And I think, give the guy some time off. You've got some fresh arms coming from the minors. You got some fresh arms, Blackburn coming back. Maybe, put him into the bullpen, let him, pitch a couple times a week and to stay sharp. But at this point, you hate for all these little things to take away from what the team element is trying to do. And that's just win ball games and get back to first place if they can.
Yeah, we'll see. If maybe the Phillies are gone, and I think the Blue Jays though are gone in the American League East. But who knows? Yankee
We've
schedule very, very
we've
easy,
seen
and it's a
so many peaks and valleys already.
long MLB regular season. Make sure to check us out later on tonight, 7 o'clock. Obviously, the Jets and the Giants once again join practice before their big matchup Saturday night out at MetLife Stadium. I believe Kate Rooney is out there for Pix
Yes,
11. We'll have a
she
report
is.
later on today during the course of the news. And check us out 7 o'clock tonight, Nelson and myself for Sports Nation Nightly. Everyone out there, have themselves a wonderful Wednesday. Stay cool. It's very, very hot out there. Yes, Figgy. Anything else? Oh, yeah, the
The mo-
moose. The
the
moose head.
Moose.
Yes, there you have it. I'm Marc Malusis. He's Nelson Figueroa. This has been Figgie and the Moose right here on Pix 11 Plus.